There's a phenomenon that is both mesmerizing and unsettling. Place two mirrors perfectly opposite each other, and a portal to infinity seems to open. Reflections bounce back and forth, creating an endless corridor of copies, each one receding into a smaller, darker, grainier version of the original. It's a visual echo chamber where light gets lost in its own repetition. This isn't just a neat optical trick. It feels like a profound metaphor for how we can get trapped in our own minds. What if many of our beliefs are ingrained traumas? Even our cherished identities are not direct truth, but copies of copies, reflections of reflections, growing fainter and more distorted with each iteration, moving us further and further from the original light of the direct experience. We can look at this through the lens of belief. Often, we hold an opinion not because we've personally investigated it, but because we absorbed it from a parent, a teacher, a culture. That person in turn may have absorbed it from their own influences. The original insight, the lived experience that birthed the idea to begin with, is the source light. But by the time it reaches us as an unquestioned belief, it may be the 10th reflection in the mirrored hall, diminished, perhaps tinted, by the fears of each person who passed it on. We defend this copy as if it was the original truth, not realizing we are defending a ghost of a ghost. The distortion isn't a lie, but a loss of fidelity. The core shape might be recognizable, but the vitality, the nuance, the living context, it's gone. This is where trauma lives with such haunting persistence. A traumatic event is a shattering of the mirror. It's a direct, overwhelming experience. The source light is too bright, too painful, but the mind, in an attempt to make sense of it and protect us from future shattering, creates a story, a reflection. The world is unsafe. I am unworthy. Love is betrayal. The first reflection is already a distortion, a simplification of a complex event into a survival rule. Then, the mind holds up that rule as a new mirror. Every similar feeling, every hint of vulnerability, gets reflected against that trauma mirror, creating another copy of the fear, which then gets reflected again. Soon, we are living in an infinite regress of the same painful story, each iteration feeling more absolute, more true, yet each one taking us further from the actual event and locking us deeper into a reactive pattern. We are no longer responding to the world, we are responding to the 1000th reflection of an old wound. Identity can fall into the same hall of mirrors. We have a moment where we feel truly seen for a talent, a creative spark, a moment of athletic grace, a flash of intellectual insight. That genuine recognition is the source light. But then, the ego, wanting to secure that good feeling, holds up a mirror. I am a talented person. That becomes our new surface. We then perform for that mirror, seeking experiences that will reflect back that identity. Each success is a new reflection in the corridor, confirming the story. But each failure is a dissonant image that threatens the whole infinite regress. We become enslaved to maintaining the reflection, terrified that if the mirrors stop, there will be nothing there. The identity becomes a copy of a moment of authentic being, and the effort to keep the reflection going can drain the very life it was meant to celebrate. This concept of distorted transmission has echoes in ancient wisdom. In some Gnostic and mystical traditions, There is the idea of the demiurge, not necessarily an evil being, but a lesser, distorted reflection of the true, ineffable source, who then creates a world that is itself a reflection of a reflection, hence filled with suffering and illusion. The path of gnosis, knowledge, is to see through the infinite regress of illusory reflections back to the original light. The enlightened masters often taught by breaking the mirror chain, a Zen master's shout, a paradoxical koan, a sudden unexpected act of compassion. These were designed to shatter the disciples' hall of mirrors, to stop the endless internal chatter of copied thoughts and force a direct encounter with reality before the first reflection. They planted the seed of immediacy. So, how do we step out of the corridor? The first step is simply to recognize we might be in one. When a belief feels rigid and defensive, when a trauma reaction feels automatic and all-encompassing, when an identity feels brittle and needing constant validation, these are clues. These are the signs that we are interacting with reflections, not with the source. The second step is to turn toward the original light, however we can. For a belief, it means asking, what is my own direct experience of this? For a trauma, it means, with gentle support, turning toward the original feeling buried beneath the layers of story, not to relive it, but to finally meet it with compassion and allow it to be metabolized, breaking the reflective loop. For an identity, it means asking, who am I when I'm not performing for any mirror, internal or external? This work is about tracing the light back. It's about finding the first mirror. It requires quieting the noise of the endless reflection and listening for the whisper of the original signal. It means being willing to let the infinite regress collapse, even if it feels for a moment like we are disappearing into the ensuing darkness. But that darkness is not emptiness. It's the space before the first reflection. It's the potential for a new, clear, direct relationship with reality. From that space, we can choose to hold up a mirror again, but this time consciously. This time knowing it's a mirror, not the truth itself. We can create reflections that are playful, creative, and flexible, not prisons of distorted infinity. We can step out of the hall of mirrors and back into the open sky of direct experience, where the light is fresh and every reflection is a conscious choice, not a forgotten fate.